How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another Student Gov Uncut. I am really excited to be making this video because the ASO Southwestern College elections are going to be happening tomorrow, Monday. It is Sunday, May the 3rd. So campaigning is going to start next week, and I decided to make a video to discuss some of the things that I look for in a student leader. So this year, we actually have a lot of people turning in applications. They'll be running for positions. We've got 4 people running for president. We have, I think, I saw 8 people running for Senate, and multiple VP positions that we see 2 or 3 people competing in that arena per position. So this is actually a really exciting time, and I actually do think it speaks to the current administration that we have so many students running for a position now. I made a list of about 8 things that I'm going to be looking for in each candidate to see if they earn my vote. A lot of these people running are names I've never heard of. Some of them I know quite a bit, but many I just never got a chance to meet them. So it's going to be very important for me to see this in candidates to determine if I will vote for them. These are things that I went above and beyond what you would normally think about in a candidate. So I didn't just put things like, oh, honesty, integrity, courage. No. I've been doing this a while. Just to give you a little background, I was president and student trustee in 2011. I was also senator at large the year before that, president of Phi Theta Kappa the year before that. I'm currently a senator at large. I'm communications officer for Region 10. I've gotten a chance to attend many of these conferences and Region 10 meetings, and I've gotten a chance to see different types of student leaders. And I've also seen the types of student leaders who stick it out and do an excellent job. And I've also seen the ones that quit within a few weeks and you never hear from them again. You never see them again. So the list that I've compiled are things that I have personally witnessed make students successful. So let's just dive into it. Some of these might be a little bit weird, but hear me out before you just click out of the YouTube video. So the first thing that I look for in a student leader before I vote for them is they don't have a lot of close friends. And the reason why this is important to me is because it's really tough to do the right thing. It's difficult to challenge the status quo. And I think when you're a student politician, or really just any kind of politician, you pander for votes. You do as much as you can to cater to as many people as you can. So you try to be friends with everybody. But to me, when I see a candidate that has a very close-knit, tight group of friends, that tells me that they're not just trying to impress everybody, but that rather they have a certain set of guidelines and principles and they stick with them. So much so that they only have a few exclusive people in their circle. Now, this does not mean that I'm looking for somebody who discriminates or is prejudiced or is not accepting of other points of view and only, self-segregates with a certain group of people. But what I'm saying is I'm looking for somebody who is not afraid to make someone upset because they want to hold back what they truly believe. So if I see that someone is not the most popular kid in school, that actually is a good thing. It means that the person has the courage to speak their mind. So that's the first thing I look for. The second thing I look for is, and it kind of runs along those same lines, is they make decisions that upset authority. This does not mean I'm looking for a troublemaker. It doesn't mean that I'm looking for a student leader who is breaking all the rules all the time and just, being a rebel just for the sake of being one. But I do think that I'm looking for what I call the anti-teacher's pet. And it's so important because as a student leader, you are going to be in SCC meetings, hiring committees. You're going to be in all sorts of meetings everywhere. And you're going to be dealing with faculty, staff, and administrators. And these people, they can be your mentors if you wish. But keep in mind, these are men and women who have children and mortgages and car payments. And they have their own unions and they have their own, they have their own agendas. And that's okay. So you have to, if the teacher likes you, or if a certain group outside of the students like you, most likely it's because you're serving their agenda. So if you're the kind of person who's breaking the rules, who's not afraid to tell an administrator, a vice president, a dean, no, I'm not okay with that. The students are not okay with that. I am not. I'm going to, I don't care if you make more money than me, you're in a higher position than me. I'm going to tell you the truth, and this is it. So if somebody's constantly making decisions that people kind of think, what? Wow, he or she had the courage to come forward and say, this is what I want. That to me goes a long way in my book. So as I look through these students who are going to be running in these positions, many of them come from clubs. It matters a lot to me that they have the courage to do that. The third thing that I look for is they don't show up because they're busy doing. Okay. I think many times in a lot of clubs and organizations, you can become president or vice president or secretary or what have you. And all you really have to do is just show up. I think we have this idea that showing up is half the battle. Just show up. And people show up and that's all they do. But if, somebody who shows up and does nothing is not as impressive to me as somebody who doesn't show up, but they're not there because they're busy actually doing it. If somebody doesn't show up because they are at a fundraiser or an activity or because they're out there talking to students and getting the job done, that goes a lot farther in my book. So just showing up, just being there for the weekly meetings, being there for the Senate meeting, just calling in and not actually doing anything, that doesn't cut it for me. So I'm going to be looking for somebody, for a candidate who is too busy doing to show up. Now, of course, I would want them to be there as well. Okay, we have to make sure that we hold them accountable. But to me, actions matter more than words. The fourth thing, I think we're on the fourth thing. The fourth thing is, and this is something I got from Tony Robbins, and I hope that I can express it before people just judge me for it. Number 4, they do not major in minor things. Now, when I say major, I'm not talking about their college major, whether it's philosophy, political science. I'm not talking about that, okay? What I'm saying is they don't focus all of their energy on minor things that don't mean anything in the grand scheme of things. We've seen this. I've seen this countless times. There are student leaders who focus way too much on Brown Act or parliamentary procedure. They know how to make a motion just the right way. Like they studied the heck out of parliamentary procedure. But when it comes to actually doing something for the students, they know nothing. They don't know anything about getting their hands dirty. There's a phrase that we hear a lot in the industry, virtually any industry, which is those who can't do teach. Yeah, so they dive so deep into the material, but it's not the material you need. I've seen this happen all the time. People who know, I don't know, maybe they study graphic design so much, but they don't actually produce any artifacts. So it's gonna go a long way in my book to see somebody who is, when I say, what's your expertise, they'll say, well, I can tell you what projects I've worked on, I can tell you what I've accomplished, I can tell you the results, versus somebody who says, well, I'm an expert in parliamentary procedure and Brown Act and Robert's Rules and all this stuff that matters. I'm not saying it doesn't, but they're more busy doing what affects a higher number of students than rather something that just affects a small amount. The fifth thing that I look for when I elect a student leader is, this is huge, they work well with their rivals. It's so easy to work with friends, but I think that when you're working with somebody who has a different opinion from you, that thinks differently from you, or that maybe believes in something that upsets you, but you're still able to work with the person, that goes a long way. I was reading a book called Team of Rivals, and it's about the presidency of Abraham Lincoln and how he was able to work with groups of people, particularly mostly men at the time, who didn't believe everything that Abraham Lincoln believed, but he was still able to bring people together and see past their differences to build something beautiful together. So I'm really going to be looking for somebody who says, hey, you know what, I believe in X, so-and-so believes in Y, but we were able to come up with something together that benefited everybody. Somebody who doesn't really spread a lot of drama, somebody who doesn't like to create lines in the sand, but rather knows how to work with people who think differently. The sixth thing that I'm looking for is when they speak, people listen and act. But most importantly, listen. I think you have to understand that when you speak, whether you're a student leader or not, you are asking people for their time. Right now, you're watching this YouTube video. You are giving me your time. So it's my responsibility to give you as much as I can in the limited amount of time that I have. So I look for a student leader who speaks and the room goes quiet. Why? Because they know that he or she is not just going to toot their own horn and try to make jokes and try to make friends, but they're actually going to say something important. Not only will they be able to voice their thoughts well, so someone who is an effective communicator, but they empower their listeners to act. They empower them to vote. They empower them to show up to an event. They empower them to write to their congressman or congresswoman. But their words inspire action. And that's really what I look for. So if I hear them talk and they pretty much just say, oh, this is my resume. I was treasurer of this club, president of that club, and I did this and so, this and that. And I start to get bored. That's a red flag, because if I can't be enthralled by what they say, then how can I expect them to empower their cabinet? How do I expect them to empower the Senate? So it goes a long way for me to hear effective communication. The seventh thing that I look for in a student leader before I vote for them is they suck at making excuses. They are the worst at making excuses. Here's an example of what I mean. Some people are experts at making excuses for why something was done or not done. I see it all the time. There was a meeting recently where somebody was called out on something, and that individual immediately started making excuses. Well, I had a lot of homework. I didn't have a car. I was sick. My mother was sick. They started just listing off excuses. And it's very rare to see someone who just says, "You're right. That was my responsibility. I failed. I'm sorry. It won't happen again." It takes a lot out. I mean, I've been in this position where I want to make an excuse. And I say, look, the truth is I had to take care of my mom, and I had to take care of this and take care of that. But that excuse doesn't change the fact that something did not get done. And sometimes I just have to bite my tongue and say, you're right. That was my responsibility. I apologize. It won't happen again. And many times when you just own your responsibilities, you find that your supervisors or your superiors or the people above you are able to work with you a lot better. So I definitely like to do my research on every candidate, and if I notice that they fell short in an area, whatever that area is, and I ask them, why wasn't this done? I expect them to say either that was not that was not a project that I even touched, right? Or they might say, you're right. I was president of that club when that thing happened, and I apologize. It'll never happen again. Just own it, apologize, and move on, as opposed to just making excuses. And the eighth thing that I look for in a candidate, this one's a little tough to explain, but I'll try the best that I can. My gut likes them. Basically, I get a good feeling from the candidate. It's happened many times to me. I'm sure it's happened to you. You see a candidate and he or she is polite and a good communicator, and they have the resume, they have the GPA and the positions, and I was chair of this committee, and I was also on this hiring committee, and they give you the resume, and they're not mean, they're not impolite to you. And yet when they leave, you have some feeling that says, you know what, something about them just doesn't sit well. The reason why we have this as human beings is because of sort of this communication that happens beneath the surface, right? So if somebody is nervous or has something to hide, we sense it, even if the person doesn't tell us that they're nervous. I think it was 80% of communication is nonverbal. So we feel it. We may not be able to identify it. We if somebody says, I just don't trust you, and you say, okay, well, why don't you? Some people might say, well, I don't know. They can't give you a list of, well, because you stuttered when you said that word, well, because you're sweating because of this and that. They'll just say, look, I don't know. I just don't have a good feeling. So I've learned as I've gotten older to, give people a second chance and give people the benefit of the doubt. But if I just sense that person isn't being genuine, they're not being honest, then I've learned to be aware of that and try to break past that to see the candidate. Sometimes people just get nervous. It doesn't mean that they have anything to hide. It doesn't mean they're bad people. They just get nervous. So it's important to break past those barriers and listen to that human side of you, because politicians can tell you that, oh, they'll promise you the moon and the stars, but is a politician a good person? Is this person gonna do the right thing when no one's watching? Does this person have integrity? I think sometimes when it comes to politics and policy, we get so caught up in the facts that we forget that these are human beings. So someone who's able to make a human-to-human connection with me goes a long way. I'm really excited to see these debates and forums and posts. I'm very excited, and I have seen the names. I haven't, endorsed any candidate. I'm not sure if I will, but I'm very excited to see what comes of it. If you are watching this and you're running for a position in the ASO, best of luck. I think the ASO is a wonderful, wonderful organization to be a part of. And I'll be making another video shortly to just kind of give you some tips and tricks, and you can use them if you'd like. Thank you so much again for watching another Student Gov Uncut, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.